Hey, this is Bob coming at you with another Glide gamification tutorial. This one's going to be about treasure hunts. Let's get to it. So, first thing we have to do is go to our sheet. We're going to create two sheets, one for the hunts themselves and one for the hunts submission log. So we're going to go here to our spreadsheet and let's create a new sheet. Let's call this hunts, not huts, hunts. Let's create another sheet here called hunt log. All right, so for the hunts, let's keep it very simple. Let's have a title for the hunt, an image, which again will create, well, no, we can do it here. So image, description, location, and reward. Freeze the first row, always freeze the first row. And then we'll also include maybe a hunt ID, which we'll create in the data editor itself. All right, hunt log. We need to be able to capture the timestamp of when they found the hunt ID, the email of the person, what else? The location for verification, and the reward. I think that's it. I think that's all we need. So we need to be able to grab the reward and bring it to the email. Maybe also an item ID. Maybe they found an item. I'm just thinking ahead. Wasn't planning on that for this tutorial, but maybe if we have enough time, we can add it in. All right. So that should be enough information that we have now. Let's add in one hunt. So maybe we want an item ID here as well, if we're going to add in. So maybe this is like XP reward. Let's add some various rewards. So we have XP reward. Insert right. We have gold reward. And then for the, so we have item ID. There should be an XP reward. And then, just like the challenges, right? We had an XP and a gold, and then a gold reward. All right, so for the hunt, for this first one, we'll call this office hunt. So where the item is located in my office. The other one, let's pick a famous landmark. Landmark hunt, just my academy. How about the school that I'm at? Now, regarding location, some of the formats that work best are city, state, zip. City zip sometimes is okay. The full address is great. GPS coordinates are super spot on. I'm going to try to just use address for now. So for this landmark hunt, let's do the location of just the address to my academy, which is 1600 Rugby Avenue, College Park, Georgia 30337. Probably needs a comma. All right, and for this location, for my office specifically, this is at 1655 Hardin Road, again, College Park, Georgia 30337. All right, so if they're in my building, they'll get it, right? All right, XP reward, let's give them something nominal. Let's just say 50, 10, no items yet. We'll see if we can award that later on. 10, we'll do some images in just a second. Description, find my office. Landmark hunt, arrive to school. All right, something like that. Okay, let's go back to our app, give it a refresh, and let's create a new tab called Treasure Hunts. So we'll do tabs, new tab. And for the icon, let's call this a map. What do we think? Do we have a good map icon? Probably. That's probably paid, isn't it? That's my guess. Oh, look, we do have something. We have this. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Treasure map. Nice. All right, and we'll call this treasure hunt. which is not fitting on my screen, but that's okay. Right, and the treasure hunt is going to be the hunts sheet, like that. All right, so we need to have them see the hunt, and then confirm that they found the location, and perhaps want some sort of keyword. We could do that too. We could add that in at some point. Right now, it's just if they get there, great. All right, so then let's add in some images, make this look a little prettier. So we'll change this column to an image column. Done. And we'll use Unsplash here to find a picture of an office. Fine, that's where I work, sure. And then a picture of a school. Outdoor of a school, please. Fine. Close. And we should probably do like the formatting here. So the XP reward, right? The units is in XP. Done. Gold rewards, unit is in gold. So let's grab our emoji. Let's find that gold. Oop, maybe money. Yeah, money bags. And beforehand, like that. Close. Done. All right. Okay, so location, description, title, XP reward. Great. Okay, now we need to grab the distance of the user to this location. So we're going to add in a column here, and we're going to use the distance column. Now, fair warning, the distance column, you only get 10 distances per free account. So, but if you upgrade to Pro, you can get up to like 100 or even up to, is it 100? I think it's 100 distances at a time. So you get 10 distances per day, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so then we'll have this distance to treasure. This is going to be the from the users from the user location to the current location, and the unit is going to be miles if we're here in the United States. Precision, double is fine. From, all right, I need to fix that in just 1 second. So we're gonna add in we need to create a user-specific field. We'll call this user location. And this will be a basic column text. It's going to be user specific. It's going to make us add a row ID, which is fine. We wanted one anyway. The row ID, we're going to call this the hunt ID, if you remember right. Done. So we have user location. All right, we need to prompt them to turn on their user location. So we're going to add in a location component where it's going to ask them to use their current location. We're going to toggle that on. It's going to write to the location column, like so. And so now you see the location is a, oh, not this location, shoot. I meant user location. I gotta fix that. Okay, so this location goes to the user location. And so now that user location is now being written to the user location field here. It means I need to adjust this date back to what it was, which was 1655. Hardin Road, College. Hello? Park, Georgia, 30337. I'm getting some weird lag here. Hardin Road. Comma. Okay. And so now this distance column makes more sense. But first we need to populate this value across all rows. So we need a single value column here. So we're going to add in a single value. We'll call this distance single value. And this will be a single value column. Okay, and the single value column, we're going to get the first value from Hunt's user location. It's going to populate now across all the rows. So now we can actually compare the current user's location, which is now in all of the rows, to this location here and get the distance. All right, so now we're going to, so the from will be the distance single value to the location. Units in miles. Done. All right, so now it recognizes the fact that I'm in my office and I am at the building here. And you see that I'm within half a mile. So now you can set your threshold, right? Are they at the current location? So at location. This will be an if-then column. And we want to check to see if the distance to treasure is within a certain threshold. This is completely up to you. If they didn't need to be standing at the exact spot, then you might want to set a threshold of like 0.3 or 0.2. I'm going to be very lenient. I'm going to say, hey, if they're in the vicinity of my office, great. So I'm going to say if they're within, half a mile, great. So this is because my devices are all using Wi-Fi, not GPS coordinates. If they have phones, they can be very specific. But since they're on Wi-Fi, it's using just router information for the location, so it's not going to be as specific as it would be if it were GPS. So I'm going to say if it's less than or equal to 0.5, then true. Else, false. So as you can see, yes, they're true. They are near my office, but no, they have not reached the center of campus yet. Okay. And so now we have a true false to be able to show a button to submit their entry. All right, so we need to use the current location, turn on. You see it's finding it. Let's see if that changed my data at all. It didn't. Okay. Okay, so the title here, we can just make this a little prettier with the item image. Great. Let's get rid of these action texts. Maybe I don't want to show the actual location yet. If you do, great, you can. Let's show this information, this reward in a table. So let's do a basic table. We'll call this rewards, where we'll have the XP reward, the gold reward, and the item ID if there is one. Okay. Maybe you want to give them a hint to show the location on a map. So we can add in a map view. Let's see, map. Okay, of the location. And maybe you want to show them how far off they're at, right? So we can add in a text component somewhere. Maybe it's an action text, so it actually has the title. You can call this like distance from treasure. And this will be the distance. There we go, look at that. So distance from treasure is half a mile. Use the current location. Maybe that should be on top. Location. Then you have the rewards table. Then the map. Feel free to play with, obviously, with the interface here. All right, and so now we want to show the form button to submit their entry when they are within range. So we can add in 2 buttons here. We'll add 1 button that says like, you found it. And this will be a form button. So we're going to open a form. And this form is going to write to the hunt log sheet. And now we need to grab some information here. All right, so the timestamp, the hunt ID, and the email, XP reward, gold reward, item ID, location, all these things will be written to the sheet from these special columns here. So the hunt ID goes to the hunt ID. Right, timestamp will be the current date and time. The email goes to the email address. The XP reward goes to XP reward. The gold reward goes to the gold reward. Item ID goes to item ID. And then the if they're at the location, that's true. So we can show what the actual location of their, if we want to grab that data, right? So the user location, go to the location field. And then we could have some sort of information here that shows a confirmation to say like, hey, hit submit. So that could be just a text column or text component with instructions like tap submit to tap submit to. So then we could have some sort of instructions like tap submit to collect your reward. Make this nice and big. And so when they submit, okay, that now got sent. And now in our hunt reward sheet, we should have our hunt log. We now have all that information. Okay, so now we want to see whether or not the user has completed it, because maybe you don't want them to complete it more than once. So we can add a column. We're going to make this a template column, and we'll have this be the email ID, where E and I, where E stands for the user's email, and I stands for the hunt ID. Done. And we need to create a similar column back in the Hunts tab. We already have the ID, we just need the email address. So we're going to create a template, and again, call it email ID, where E stands for email, I stands for ID, E will be the user email, and I stands for the hunt ID. Done. Okay, now we're going to add another column here to do the relation, to see whether or not they've already completed the hunt. So we'll call this rel hunt log. And this will be a relation where the email ID matches the hunt log email ID. Huzzah. All right, so because there's a relation, that means they can no longer submit this entry again. So let's prevent them. So let's create a second button. Right? This second button will be grayed out, and we could say you've already found this treasure. All right, I found a little trick where you don't need to use the dead link template column anymore. As long as you don't have any randomly sorted objects here on the sheet, you can actually use the action reshuffle icon, and there's nothing to reshuffle, so the button does nothing. So it's one less step to have to create that dead link template column. And we only want this to show when that relation is not empty, meaning I've already submitted something in the log. So visibility will show when this hunt log is not empty, which means we want the form button to show only when it is empty. So visibility, where the rel hunt log is empty. All right, so now that I've already found the treasure, I can't find it again. Maybe this button should be above the map or someplace else where it's more prominent. Maybe something up like this. So that way they don't have to scroll to the bottom and miss it. They found it, great, it alerts them that they found it. Okay, and then maybe you're only hiding hunts that they've already found, or if you want to create, yeah, we could do something like that. Maybe we could group by already found, which we don't have yet, do we? Okay, so let's create that. So let's add a new column. And this will be a grouping. This will be an if-then. All right, so if the rel hunt log is empty, it means they haven't found it yet. And those could be like new hunts. Otherwise, it's one that they've already found. And we could say completed hunts. Okay. Completed hunts begins with a C, which happens before N. So I want new hunts to be on top. So I need to sort this in reverse alphabetical order by grouping. So here I can do features group by that if-then grouping. As you can see, I've completed and new, but I want new to happen on top. So I'm going to sort by the grouping, but in reverse alphabetical order, like that. And so now all their completed hunts will be at the bottom. If they go to click on it, they'll say they've already found this treasure. If they have new hunts, right, they can select it, and yay, they found it. And then they can access this, right? And again, if they retrieve the location, right here, I said I'm within, now I thought I said within half a mile. This says 0.55. So let's see what my math is, what's happening here. So it says false. Oh, I didn't create that. All right, so the button should only appear if they haven't found it yet, right? So this form button should only appear when the hunt log is empty and where at location is true. And so because I'm not at my location yet, it's not showing yet. We could create another button as well that does nothing. And this button shows when the hunt log is empty and where the at location is not true. And this needs to be something like travel to the location or get closer to the treasure or move closer, navigate, move. They're warm. So navigate closer to the treasure. I don't know. Play with the wording. So they can't do anything until they're closer. And once they're within half a mile, right, then this button will change and they'll be able to do this. So now you can, if you want other things as well, let's say you wanted to have photo evidence, right? Well, in your hunt log, then require them to take a photo, right? And say photo evidence. Or maybe they need to fill out a password, right? And so if there's a password, well then the password needs to be, password needs to be here. So for example, maybe they can only get the office hunt when they've recorded the number or my room number, which is 201, right? So let's clear this so that way I can do the hunt again. All right, so I found it because I'm within half a mile. All right, and maybe they can't submit this yet because they haven't completed the text here. And so maybe they need to enter in the password or the photo evidence, right? So they need to do an image picker, which goes to the photo evidence, which says, it's got to be required, so they have to take a photo of their location, right? Or maybe they need to, and let's just take a picture here of, I was going to collect a picture of anything at the moment. This is my evidence, a picture of Jimmy Fallon. So maybe they take a picture of an item or take a picture of themselves or a selfie or something, right? Let's say they also need to enter in that password. Let's see, what's the best way to do that? Let's see, so maybe the password needs to happen beforehand. Let's see if this works. I don't think it's going to. So text entry, because there's no data validation. So where the password, yeah. You have to enter a password. It's got to be required. But they could enter in anything here. It's going to let them submit. Because the only data validation is the minimum length. Yeah, so we have to actually have them enter in that password. If you want a password, it actually has to be before they click the button. So in case you want to see what that looks like, you'd have to create another user-specific column. We'll call this password. And this would be a user-specific column. Text. We'll call this password or user password or password entry, password attempt, something like that. It's got to be user-specific. And let's say this form button won't even appear unless they put in the password. And so we need to have them put in a password using the text entry. Password. The column will be the password entry. We'll say enter the location password. We can put this up by the form button. Right? All right, and this found it button will appear when the rel hug is empty, when the at location is true, and where password is equal to, I guess that should be a text column, not a number column, because we want is. I thought it was a number column, but we want a text column. Okay, where password is, and then the user-specific password entry. So they get to the location, right? And so once they enter 201, then the button appears, right? If they enter 202 or 200, the password doesn't show because those two things aren't equal. So maybe we want another found it button here to appear. Again, it's going to do nothing. Reshuffle, where password is not, and instead of found it, you found it. Enter the password. Something like that. Right, and when they enter the password, then they have the other button. Collect your reward. It's a little bit of a change. All right, so if it's not the password, great. Maybe the password location only shows up if they're at the location as well, right? Because we don't want them entering just randomly trying to get the password, but so this text entry should only appear when @location is true, right? Is true. All right. So if they're at the location, it's going to ask them for the password, and then they can collect the reward. Right, and this should probably be under the buttons. So then that way, if you want to enter the password, they enter their password, 201, and they can collect the reward. Photo evidence, let's take a picture. And then submit. That's cool. Maybe we want the location password to hide itself. Or if we want all of these things to hide themselves, we can do that too once they've already found the treasure. Again, you just use the visibility condition of the relation, right? If the relation is not empty, then you can hide these things. So that way maybe they can't give away the password to other people once they've already found it. All right, the last thing we have to do is get that information from the user in order to collect our rewards. So for the user sheet, we now have to add in 2 more columns, one for XP and one for gold. So this will be Hunt XP. Well, let's do this first, relationship to Hunt. And we are going to relate the email address to the Hunt log email. Match multiple, done. Then we need 2 roll-up columns, right? We need a roll-up. So we'll call Hunt XP. I'm going to summarize the value of relationship to Hunt XP reward by calculating the sum. Done. And then we need Hunt gold. Again, roll up, summarize the values of relationship to Hunt gold sum. All right, let's drag this information where it belongs. Okay, I can also see that my unit didn't come over because in the log, we never specified that. So let's go to the Hunt log and do that real fast here. So again, XP is the unit for that, and gold. Need to grab my emoji again. Thank you, Joy Pixels. Done. Okay. So there's the gold. Great. All right, and then we have to move our gold column over. And the last step is just to add those 2 things to the total. So we're going to edit our total to add the Hunt, where Hunt stands for the Hunt gold. Done. Woohoo! Earn 10 gold. And the Hunt XP. Right, so my total should be 300 XP now. Plus Hunt. Boom, 300 XP. Nice. There we go. All right. And so the last step would be if you wanted to award them an item, We just need to grab the item ID. Let's see, how would that work? So let's say you wanted to give away this paperclip, right? Once they found my office. So I'm going to come over here to my store and find the paperclip ID. And then in the hunt, here's the item ID. And let's pretend that they want it here under the item ID. So maybe after they've completed the reward, then they can add the item to their inventory. Let's see. So we could go here. You've already found this treasure. Right. For the item ID, we should probably relate that to the actual item for display purposes. So rel item, we're going to relate the item ID to the store item ID. And let's grab the item name. Let's see. So look up item name, paperclip, done. Okay. There's a few different ways we could go about this. Because we can't do a form within a form, we can only have to do a form once they've already found the treasure, let's say. And so just like how we did it with awarding a user an item, where we're basically writing that transaction to their transaction sheet free of charge, we'll do the same thing here. So we'll create a form button, and we're only going to show this form button when, one, they have completed it, so where rel hunt log is not empty, so they've completed the challenge, and when there is an item to earn. So and where item ID is not empty. Okay. There's going to be a third one as well, and I'll talk about that when we get there. All right, so this open form, it's going to be collect your item. Okay, before I forget, the item ID here doesn't make sense. So in our basic table, we want to show the actual item name. Item reward. Paperclip. All right, we're going to collect their item. And again, we should also collect their item only when their inventory isn't full yet. So let's add that feature. So collect your item, features, where user inventory slots available is greater than 0. Okay. If it's not greater than 0, then we need to say something along the lines of inventory full. So we'll duplicate this button, change it to where inventory slots is less than or equal to 0. And we'll call this, it needs to be a reshuffle action. And then change this to inventory full. Drop an item to collect. Okay. But my inventory isn't full, so I see this collect your item. And this is going to be a form to the transaction sheet. Okay. So here, the item ID will be the SKU. So item ID becomes the SKU. Date time becomes the timestamp. The email address becomes the email. The item name is the item. Cost will be nothing because they got it for free. Hasn't been used, hasn't been dropped. We don't hear about this, that, this, or that. Maybe we want an image here. Like you want a paperclip with the picture of the paperclip. So this will be a lookup. Item image. Item image. Paperclip. All right, we need some instructions. So let's have the image of the item image. We need some instructions. So text, center align it. Let's make it custom. And we'll say something like tap submit to collect your, make this a headline 3. That should fit. Yep. Maybe make this like that. To collect your, and then paperclip. So we'll duplicate this text. We'll make this text the item name. Make it headline 1 so it's obvious. Hooray! All right, so submit. But maybe we need one more thing here, right? We need some sort of verification that they've won this item from the treasure hunt. So that way they can't earn the this paperclip over and over and over again with that form button, right? So we need one more thing, and this is going to be in our transaction sheet. We should probably create a column here called hunt item, or hunt ID. We can just use the ID, I guess. The hunt ID, yeah. So if that hunt ID exists, then we need to hide the button. All right, so then we also need to refresh, and we're going to add where the hunt ID goes to the hunt ID. Okay, so then submit. All right, now my inventory is full. Look at that, it's pretty cool. Okay, and in my inventory, I should now have a paperclip. And I do. Pretty cool. All right, so now I need to prevent myself from getting the paperclip more than once. So just so you see that, if I were to drop this piece of paper and I go back to the treasure hunt, see how I can collect the item again? I don't want that. So I need to create a relation between this hunt and my transactions. And if that relationship is true, that means they must have completed the transaction for that hunt, which means they now have a Boolean of to turn it on or off. So in this treasure hunt log, I'm going to say relationship to item collected, where I'm going to relate. Oh, it needs to be the email, doesn't it? We need the email as well as the hunt. Okay. I'll create the relation, and I'll come back into it. So where the hunt ID matches the values in transactions, hunt ID. It can't be just this, because if somebody else completes the hunt, then it's going to find that relation, right? All right, so we need to create a template column. We'll call this email hunt, where the template is email h, where E and H stands for the user email. User email. Where is it? Where's the email? Do I not have it? Oh, okay. That's what I just used user. That's what I did. So user email and hunt is the hunt ID. Done. Back in the transactions, I need to create that same thing. So we'll say email hunt, and it'll be a template, E-H, where E stands for email, and H stands for the hunt ID. Done. All right, hopefully last thing. All right, so now we can adjust this relation to where the email hunt matches the transactions of the email hunt. Awesome. And so now if this is present, then we want to hide this button. So the collect your item button will only be visible where that relationship to item collected is empty. Likewise, the inventory full doesn't matter if they've already collected it at some point, so same thing. And where item collected is empty. Cool. All right, and again, if you want to hide some of these other things like the password field, again, you can do where the relationship to hunt log is empty, right? Because if it's empty, that means they haven't completed it yet, and you'll hide those items. You can do this for any of these features here that you want to hide. All right, so that's it. We have some treasure hunt where they can collect gold, collect XP, collect an item. We're using the location tool. We're using a map, right? That item and gold gets added to their inventory, gets added to their total XP and gold here. Fantastic. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at robert.petito@uber.edu. And as always, thanks for watching.